I'm Soumya Bhamidipati, a journalist from Education Central. We're here at Education Central's Chalk Talk on what will tomorrow's schools look like. I'm here with Karen Spencer, Deputy Principal of Wellington High School. Karen, thank you so much for being here.
Kia ora, thank you for inviting me.
So Karen, with this review, what is the problem that we are ultimately trying to solve?
There's no simple answer to that, and clearly that's why the report is as long and detailed as it is, because the complexity of the system that we're in terms of schooling has thrown up a whole bunch of issues. But I think at the heart, what the report is trying to tackle is the perceived inequity between different schools, the competition between different schools that has been a result of the Tomorrow's Schools initiative. So I think it's trying to put up some thoughts and ideas in relation to what has happened over the last few years in terms of the schooling sector. So the inequity is clearly what's sitting behind the report, and out of that has fallen a whole bunch of things in terms of not enough resourcing, and it's hard to connect schools together, and leaders needing more support. So there's a raft of problems that I think we're trying to tackle. Yeah.
And do you think that the solutions proposed in the report, do you think they address these issues?
Well, I think partially. They certainly, I think the report is very bold, and it has put up some really fresh thinking, and it hasn't been afraid to come at it from almost an ideological point of view, like putting the child first. I think I really liked the ideas that were proposed around support for principals. I can see they're trying to take some of the heavy business bureaucracy off leaders. They've got a strong focus around resourcing equity, so support for students with additional learning needs, support for schools that need more funding. I think there's some questions around the education hub idea, and I think that's where people have been grappling most. So, but I think generally the report has thrown up lots of things that are really worthwhile to discuss.
As someone who is on the ground and involved in education every day almost,
Yep.
Is there anything that you think personally could be a solution or needs to be put on the table that maybe you haven't seen?
One of the proposals that is in the report is around the equity index funding and resourcing. There's a proposal to strengthen the amount of learning support available for young people. There's a proposal to make sure that the funding that goes into schools is reflective of the needs of the students there in the schools, as opposed to decile. And particularly given the school where I work, I think that's something that we would be really excited by if the government was going to adopt that particular proposal. And I was also interested in the level of support they were going to put in for school leaders, and connected to that, the way that they're looking at assuring schools in a different way compared to how ERO does it at the moment, so a far more connected, light touch sampling approach. So there's a couple of things there that I think schools would be really, really welcome.
Also, the reactions to the proposals have been quite mixed, quite at both ends.
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
How do we find a middle ground that's going to work for every New Zealander?
It's a really interesting question, because at the heart of the report is an attempt to try and reduce inequity, and you would think that would be something that everyone could get behind. But I think it's also fair to say that not everyone shares the same political views. Not everyone shares the same ideology, and I think that has caused a really interesting reaction. Like, some people think the report is great, others can't see themselves in it, can't see their school in it at all, are quite happy with how their school is going. Trying to find the common ground. I wonder whether the government could start to look at where we could begin to test and roll out some of the ideas without going hook, line and sinker. Like there are some things in there that you could start to implement now, such as the resourcing, the support for principals, the different ways of reviewing schools that could be done without the education hubs, which would be a huge systemic change. So possibly looking for those areas that are doable. I think if you were to take the whole report and try to roll it out, I mean, you're looking at years of work. Trying to step past the ideology and actually look at the practical solutions, I think, is something that could be a starting point that might bring people together.
I have heard people voice a fear that the government will cherry pick from the report and do what is easy. What is your take on that?
I think it's a reasonable response, given the fact that the election is not going to be that many years away, and I know that obviously the government want to stay in for another term. But I think it would be unreasonable to think that they could implement the report wholesale anyway in the time that they've got. Some of those proposals would take many years to roll out. I think it'll be interesting to see whether the government looks at the framework of the proposals as a whole and whether or not it's going to take that as its main direction. I think if it committed to that, then it could start to, I'm not sure about cherry pick, but maybe prioritise those initiatives that perhaps are already slightly underway, strengthen some of the things that are already in process. But I can see why people would have responded like that, because it's a huge report, right? I mean, there's the richness of the solutions are pretty complex in there.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you. Kia ora.